Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And welcome once again to another exciting edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen. Got a crazy amount of stuff to go through for the past week since the last episode of the Juice Box aired, which is great. Great to talk to everybody here about all the stuff that's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. Before we get into all the good stuff, let's do all the basics. Juicy Steen on Twitter, Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, juicysteen.podbean.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you go to iTunes and you rate this 5 stars or drop a review, that would be fantastic. Wow, really don't know where to begin. Man. Kind of want to do a lot of everything here. So I got a lot of interesting Impact, of course, news, AEW, Dynamite stuff, some interesting PLE information for WWE. I'm going to do the top 5 Halloween Havoc matches, and we're also going to do a retrospective on Halloween Havoc and rank the Halloween Havoc events from worst to best. In my humble WCW loyalist, fan, connoisseur, historian, lover opinion, which should be fun because Halloween Havoc under the NXT banner had its night 1 this past week, which was fun. We had Shotzi as Pinhead from Hellraiser and among other interesting get-ups. I love the Halloween Havoc brand. I love that it got its due now at NXT. It's not a random house show like Starrcade was. Great American Bash got treated well for a bit, but Halloween Havoc gets 2 weeks. It gets a lot of fun stuff in it, fun for the current guys and girls on the roster to really sink their teeth into. Halloween Havoc was also just, I always considered it one of the best of the WCW pay-per-views, but Eric Bischoff kind of stated that it was more than a tentpole. It was the WrestleMania of WCW, which for a long time, and I would kind of consider Starrcade to be the WrestleMania of WCW. However, Bischoff thinks a little differently, and when we go over some of these matches that happened at Halloween Havoc, you really could consider it the WrestleMania of WCW, with some of the matches and star power that they had loading up the cards in certain years. So yeah, we'll tackle that as well. Let's just do the week. We'll go Raw. We'll go, of course, SmackDown from last week. Bleed into Raw. Talk a little Crown Jewel coming up next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, which shaping up to be another decent card. And these international PLEs. I know Saudi Arabia has been in the fray for quite some time now, but there seems to be some more internationality coming through the pike. In 2024, we will attack that in a little bit. But let's just get to Raw. Let's hit a little bit of Raw action here. I thought it was an interesting show. Actually, you know what? Let's go SmackDown first, because SmackDown technically came first. We can get a little bit more discussed there before we forget, because tonight, of course, is SmackDown as well. LA Knight, we got Cody Rhodes on Raw, LA Knight on SmackDown. These guys are clearly the number one babyface for both brands. Arguably, couldn't tell you who's bigger right now. I would say LA Knight, considering the slot that he's getting. He officially now will face and challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed Universal WWE Championship at Crown Jewel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, November 4th. As of this time, we will do the predictions next week, of course, but as of this time, I would not say that LA Knight's going to win. I am like 99% sure he's not going to win. However, This could be a star-making performance. He could take Roman to the brink. A lot of things could be going on in the match, during the match, after the match that could really help LA Knight continue this push and continue his hot streak, whether he wins the title or not. So I enjoy that they're going to get this match at Crown Jewel. But LA Knight came out and he really is hanging around with Roman and Paul Heyman, of course, and I don't know. I really just dig what's going on with those guys. I know LA Knight, a lot of criticism, of the derivative characteristics that he is portraying, of Austin, Rock, and some of the Attitude Era stars of yore. However, Ric Flair was a derivative, and Hogan and Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes, a lot of guys, almost every wrestler, takes something from wrestlers from the past and kind of molds their own way of going about things. But it would have seemed that the machinations of LA Knight's character are it's too close to Austin for some people, with the being like the what, chant, but in a different way. I've said this before, I really don't care how he's presented. He's over. It's so nice and fun to see wrestlers getting over legitimately, organically, like this. So I see no issue in how it's going. And until he's not over, he's over. So I really don't care if, he's deriving from other characters or downright imitating certain characters, because he is putting his own little panache on it. So be that as it may, we got LA Knight and Roman at Crown Jewel. Seems like we might be on our way to Solo Sikoa and John Cena. Could that happen in Saudi Arabia? I don't know. Cena even mentioned that it's been exactly 2,002 days since he last won a televised singles match, which was in 2018, which is insane. That's 5 years since his last televised victory. But I really think Solo and Cena could have a good match. They could tie it back to the Umaga Cena matches of 2007, late 2006. So I'm here for it. I think you could get. Cena doesn't have to get a win either, of course. You could still not have a televised win, but we'll see. We'll see what they want to do. One of the best little things here, of course, was Logan Paul, who challenged Rey Mysterio after his successful boxing win. Challenged Rey Mysterio. He won the U.S. title, and it seems that he wants the U.S. title. It is now confirmed for Crown Jewel. United States title on the line. Rey Mysterio defends against Logan Paul. Now, Logan Paul, of course, had the unreal, undisputed WWE Universal title match at Crown Jewel last year. However, it's a little short. I think he might win here at Crown Jewel in a couple weeks. But again, predictions will be next week. We won't dive into that anymore. Logan Paul, though, the last time, and I quote, "The last time I beat Rey Mysterio, Dominic was still his son. The last time I beat Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns actually showed up to wrestle. The last time I beat Rey Mysterio, LA Knight didn't have a job." Logan Paul is so damn good on the mic. Of course, he's great in the ring. His charisma is legit. It's authentic. I can't sing a superstar of celebrity status who's jettisoned to this level of talent, not potential, actual talent that he does have and has proven this quickly in a very long time. I'm thrilled that we have such a, not an influx, but your Bad Bunnies and Logan Paul, of course, just coming in and doing these matches, but like really taking it seriously and being a part of, a of good TV. Like every single time he's on TV, he's killing it. He's doing a great job. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Speaking of the LA Knight match, though, I did want to mention here the contract signing for that match at Crown Jewel will take place tonight on SmackDown. So that'll be kind of must see. Seeing LA Knight and Roman in the ring just a week out before their big match. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, nothing too crazy from the show. I really enjoyed, again, the Logan Paul stuff, the LA Knight stuff. I'm really looking forward to what Crown Jewel has in store in a couple of weeks. I've said it before, the Crown Jewel shows really were crazy, random, fantasy booking, nonsensical, all negative. Saudi shows, the Super Showdown in Australia, it was what it was. Just the choices that they made during the initial run of these really out there international shows, they're fascinating to me, but overall, I did not give those shows a lot of credit. I mean, you had Goldberg defeating Bray Wyatt, or The Fiend, and Shawn Michaels was bald and came out of retirement, and God, some of those matches. Now, of course, the Undertaker Goldberg debacle, but now, and I'm gonna go over here after we have a couple of things now finalized with Raw as well. 5 matches for Crown Jewel outside of a potential John Cena Solo Sikoa match, which we aren't sure is happening yet. We've got Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. Rey Mysterio as U.S. champion defending against Logan Paul. LA Knight challenging Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal title. Fatal 5-way for the Women's World title. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, and Rhea Ripley defending against those 4 women. And Seth freaking Rollins defends his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Those are 5 damn stacked matches, and I would say we probably will get a 6th match, potentially 7th. If it's Cena and Solo, that's great, and this could be the card of the year so far. I know we got Survivor Series left, but man, I don't know. A lot of intriguing stuff, even as we sit here 2 weeks out. So from the Crown Jewels of past to the last 2, the one in 2021 with Brock and Roman, I thought was a great match, and then this one, or the last one with Logan and Roman, and now this one with LA Knight and Roman. There's a lot of good stuff. Last couple Saudi shows really are bringing a lot. So, and of course, Night of Champions last June was good too. We crowned a new world champion, and a lot of good things happening in these shows. And we'll get to international flavor here in a little bit. Let's go to Raw, though. I don't know how much really on Raw. We did confirm the Cody versus Damian Priest match, which should be, again, another solid match at this show. We had Indy Hartwell and Becky Lynch in a decent little match. Becky, of course, retains her title. We had the contract signing for the Fatal 5-way, and everybody hates Nia Jax, which is great. And it's clear, Rhea Ripley is arguably, maybe not arguably, the top draw on the women's side right now, Raw or SmackDown. And that's over Bianca Belair, who I think, has been out for a bit. Rhea is, whether she's mommy or a heel, a face, it really doesn't matter. She is, I would say, again, by far the most over woman on the roster as right now. So, and then of course I can't deny this. Wow, we had Dom Mysterio and Logan Paul in the center of the ring here on Raw, and now let's just address this. Some were saying there was piped-in crowd noise. I saw videos of it not looking that way, and it seemed like the crowd was really invested in booing the hell out of both these guys. Either way, even if they pipe in the noise, who cares? They have legit heat. Dom and Logan Paul might be the most hated guys in the company. You really couldn't even tell what they were saying. Man, Logan Paul taunted Samantha Irvin, who, Ricochet, of course, is with Samantha Irvin, and they kind of had a beef with Logan Paul back in their summer feud, of course, and now it seems as if if Logan Paul wants to have Samantha Irvin call his name as new champion, he's going to have to defeat Rey Mysterio. Will we get a Ricochet, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul and Dom Mysterio match at some point? I'm not sure, but I think it would be a fun little avenue to navigate. Chelsea Green's still killing it. Just going over some little notes on the show here. And it also seems Drew McIntyre, he wants to win this title against Seth Rollins, but he also is getting swayed a little bit by the Judgment Day, and I don't think he wants to follow the Judgment Day's orders if he wants to win this match. I think he wants to just do it on his own, which could be his downfall, or it could play into the Damian Priest of it all, which I wouldn't rule out again, a potential cash-in at Crown Jewel. Why not, right? So we'll see. The other thing is that Priest got a win over Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso. Big deal, of course. And now Priest getting another big win over one of those legit main event guys who, Jey Uso, who just came over. You might not call him a big star, but now that he's, getting a shot against a guy. First of all, he was just tag champs with Cody, and now Cody getting a match against Damian Priest, where Priest arguably could lose via, roll up or something, and then again, cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase potentially later in the night. I like the play of how, could Damian Priest get involved? He's getting these wins. He has momentum with a momentum trap where he loses to Cody, and then he parlays that into cashing in. I don't know. But man, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm really looking forward to Crown Jewel. I can't believe I'm saying that. In 2023, I am looking forward to Crown Jewel. I just think that, it's outstanding stuff that they've been able to do in the last, again, 2 or 3 Crown Jewel shows, 2 or 3 Saudi shows in general anyway. But now to see where they're at in regards to having a stacked card for the whole damn show, I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, that's the WWE of it all. Now, let's tackle some interesting news in WWE. Then we'll flip to the AEW of it all, and then we'll close with the last kind of big news from the weekend, which was out of left field, but I could not be more thrilled to discuss it. And then we'll end with the Halloween Havoc retrospective, which should be fun. AEW, actually no. let's get into what I was talking about here with WWE. 2 notes. First, they announced, can you believe this? August 31st, 2024, we are going to get WWE PLE in Berlin. We are getting Bash in Berlin, seemingly not around the time for SummerSlam. I would wager SummerSlam happens either the first week of August or the last week of July, which it only happened in July one time, and that was in, that was last year, I believe. But if it were to, or 2 years ago, rather, 2022. So if it were to happen in July again, it wouldn't be unprecedented, but Bash in Berlin, August 31st, 2024, the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Tickets are going on sale here. The first ever premium live event for WWE to be held in Germany. This is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. Since Clash the Castle, which was September of 2022, they've gone to, which was in Wales, mind you. They went to, excuse me. They went to Wales for Clash the Castle. They went to Montreal for Elimination Chamber. Excuse me again. Montreal for Elimination Chamber. Riyadh, of course, for Saudi Arabia. Night of Champions, Crown Jewel. They hit... so Montreal, all these happened within a couple months. San Juan, Puerto Rico for Backlash in May. London for Money in the Bank in July. And now next year, of course, they got Saudi Arabia again next week. But next year in 2024, February, we get Elimination Chamber. Last year, or like this year was in Montreal. Next year is going to be in Perth, Australia. And Bash in Berlin is going to be in Berlin, Germany in August. There's also rumors that Fastlane could potentially be headed to Paris. Now, that's a rumor that's unconfirmed. But, man, Paris too? I love this. I love international PLEs. Clash the Castle was an amazing, amazing show. Amazing atmosphere. Those fans had not seen a live PLE, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, in quite some time. And, like 20 years. And they get this great show. Now, of course, Drew McIntyre didn't win. But the crowd was hot. I believe that was the Judgment Day, the Dom Mysterio turn. A lot of great stuff did happen at Clash the Castle. God, the Elimination Chamber Montreal show with Sami Zayn was amazing. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest in Puerto Rico with Carlito and Savio Vega and Zelina Vega. And, man, Money in the Bank was electric. Just all these shows are been so well received. The crowds have been unbelievable. And even you look at the AEW side with Wembley, that was fantastic. That was a phenomenal show, a phenomenal broadcast, and look to a show for AEW. So the international way of doing things is the wave right now for wrestling, and it seems like it's not going to stop. With Australia and Germany already 2 shows next year. Of course, they'll go to Saudi Arabia next year as well. So multiple shows are going to be outside of the domestic United States, and I couldn't be happier. Now, for those wanting to do a domestic United States PLE, the other unconfirmed rumor, but the leader in the clubhouse as of October 26th, 2023, as reported by Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp, is that Cleveland, Ohio is the current frontrunner to host SummerSlam 2024. Now, it was in Detroit last year, it was in Nashville, and then it was in Vegas before that. So, SummerSlam is WrestleMania for the summer. It's kind of just as big, They run it in July or August, and it's so huge for whoever gets the show, right? SummerSlam this past year, Detroit was huge, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed, again, the crowd that they have, and they do it very, very well. It's just, Cleveland is interesting. You know, you got Johnny Gargano, The Miz, you know, Jerry Lawler's a Cleveland Browns fan. It's just an interesting spot to hold an outdoor show. Not that it can't. It should be hot as hell in Cleveland. And personally, as a guy from the Western Pennsylvania region, Cleveland is a few-hour drive from here. So I would be thrilled to potentially get a shot to go to SummerSlam next July or August, especially if it's on a Saturday night. You know, with the Sunday having it off, you can conceivably go up there Saturday night, hang out that night, come home Sunday, and I think it'd be fun. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but I will be really looking forward to a SummerSlam in Cleveland. I can't believe I'm even saying it like that, but it's true, and I think it would be pretty cool. Unfortunately, though, and I did note this on Twitter, Triple H, of course, is retired. Otherwise, they could have run the Starrcade 94 match between Jean-Paul Levesque and Alex Wright back, because Alex Wright is the perennial German wrestler. And I think it would be so cool. Either way, honestly, if Alex Wright could get an introduction or something, could you imagine if they do the Alex Wright theme music from WCW to introduce him at this show if he were to come out? It's more of like a Euro dance, Euro pop dance, upbeat club track, which would be so cool if he could do it. We'll see. We'll see. We're not even into 2024, so let's stop anticipating what Alex Wright could be doing, you know. So let's just hold our horses there. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff on the WWE side of things. And of course, the other little thing I did want to note, it doesn't look like War Games, if it happens to Survivor Series, would be Raw versus SmackDown. And in fact, I've mentioned this. I would love to see Adam Pearce versus new GM Nick Aldis, former NWA World Champion, to wrestle each other. Those guys, I think, could still go. I know Nick Aldis could still go, and I think it'd be fun to see those two battle it out for brand supremacy, but not being lame. Oh, Raw versus SmackDown. It's legit. It's 1,000% legit, you know, and I just think it'd be fun. So, let's see what else we got here. Through the Gunther past 500 days, which is pretty cool. Yeah, not too much else here in the WWE front. I just wanted to mention all those interesting things about the upcoming shows, the potential for what they could do if they, you know, with the Berlin show. I love that they're going to Perth, and I don't know, the Cleveland thing blows me away for SummerSlam. But hey, I can't deny how big it could be for the economy. So bring it to Cleveland, bring it to the land. Let's get to AEW. This was a fun episode of Dynamite. We had Okada in the main event. That was fantastic. Swerve Strickland broke into Adam Page's house because it is now Swerve's house. We got to see the Dynamite Diamond Ring being defended, and of course MJF defeated Juice Robinson. Of course, no relation to me. We got Hook and RVD in a tag match, which was cool, defeating the Dark Order. I loved that. The Hung Bucks, of course, defeated Hardy Party, which was fun. Of course, that's where we got the Swerve's house and Hangman's house, which was... that was some dastardly stuff. I'm looking forward to more Swerve and Hangman stuff. I'm sure they'll get another match against each other, and I would presume Hangman gets that victory, and then we potentially could get a final third definitive match, dare I say dog collar or something of that scope. Would be insane. But let's be real. The big moment on AEW television this past week, I can sum it up with one simple quote. Woo! That's right. Tony Khan announced that he was going to have a huge announcement and gift for Sting, as Sting announced last week that he would be retiring from pro wrestling at Revolution 2024, which is in March of next year. And as unfortunate as that is, we get some cool stuff to look forward to with who's he going to wrestle last, who's he going to wrestle in the middle, what kind of storylines are we going to see in between, what kind of fascinating historical stuff are we going to get here. And this was the first. Ric Flair comes out as Darby and Sting are in the ring with Tony Schiavone. Ric Flair comes out. Wow. This was so nice. It was honestly one of the wildest things. I'm so happy that he got to be there. Now, I had speculated that the gift could be a potential gift that Lex Luger gave him back in 91 to injure him, whether it's Medusa or Abdullah the Butcher or Cactus Jack, but that was not the case. Instead, it was Ric Flair, who, as much as, Ric Flair and Sting. Now, we will get to some of the Ric Flair and Sting shenanigans as we touch on the Halloween Havoc retrospective, but Ric Flair and Sting, of course, the first Clash of the Champions, they main evented in 1988, going against WrestleMania 4 in 1988, which is fantastic. What a match that was. That they had a feud for the entirety of NWA and WCW, all the way until the final Nitro in 01, where they had their last match. They even wrestled in TNA, all these things. And as much as they had a feud, Flair was his teammate and wouldn't really trust Flair, but of course, it was great to see Flair. He hugged Sting. He put him over huge. And for Ric Flair to put someone over huge, it's someone important. And of course, Sting and Ric Flair go hand in hand. Of course, Christian Cage showed up, though, mocked Darby Allin. He said that if God were real, Ric Flair would have been dead 20 years ago. And apparently, it looks like it's going to be a trios match at Full Gear. Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne, and Christian Cage versus Darby Allin, Sting, and looks like it could be Adam, because they went backstage and discussed such with Adam Copeland. And when they did, he kind of, shrugged off Sting and was like, I'm not going to fight Christian. And Sting got pissed. Sting got legit fired up and was like, look, you gotta get out of this before it's too late, before you are really in a bad way because you trusted Christian this whole time. And I know he's your friend and this and that, but you have to, get out of this. You gotta move forward. You gotta stick with us, not with Christian. We could get Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting versus Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne, and Christian, which would be fantastic. I think that would be amazing to get a Sting and Edge on the same team. Come on. So that's a match right now. Tentatively a 6-man, of course. We don't know who the third man will be with Sting and Darby versus, of course, like I said, Christian, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. Timeless Tony Storm will challenge Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's World Title. And then, of course, the Guns challenge MJF in a 2-on-1 handicap match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Titles. And either MJF or Kenny Omega, because that's right, this Saturday, MJF defends the AEW World Title against Kenny Omega, the Triple B against KO on Collision this week for free. Probably because if MJF does successfully defend and hold it past Collision, then he will eventually pass the longest reign in the AEW history for the world title, which was held by Kenny Omega, which you're hot-shotting a huge match that you've never seen before on a Collision show. I mean, let's hope it pops a huge rating, because Dynamite only got 700,000 and change this past week. It went against a lot of NBA games at the start of the NBA season, so that was difficult. No NXT to go against, but the NBA didn't hold back, and they really they dunked on Dynamite for sure. But yeah, So MJF or Kenny Omega will take on Jay White at Full Gear November 18th, coming up in a few weeks now. I would like to go over to the biggest news of the week now. I don't know, I don't know who else really has this type of fervor for this next, news nugget, but I know a few people do, especially Wrestling Nation. Shout out Wrestling Nation. You guys are fantastic. Bound for Glory. Impact Bound for Glory, right? So Bound for Glory has, I think it's been around since 2005? Yeah, so 2005. So what is this? This is the 19th event that happened this past Sunday, or Saturday night rather. And then, I would say this, TNA, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. TNA from 05 to 09 was undefeated. Amazing matches. AJ Styles, Christian, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Sting, Abyss, Mr. Anderson, Jeff Hardy, Bobby Roode, Team Canada, Jeff Jarrett, Sting, or Rhino, Raven. The list goes on and on of top talent. Booker T, Scott Steiner, Petey Williams, Kevin Nash, Main Event Mafia. And then, Hogan and Bischoff kind of hurt everything in 2010, 2011. And it kind of was all right. 2012, 2013, 2014, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Bully Ray, Aces and Eights stuff. I really did. I thought that was good stuff. We even had the introduction of the Woken Matt Hardy, the deletion, all that stuff. That came in from Impact. I love that stuff. Then it became, Impact, right? They kind of changed back to Impact Wrestling. And that was fine because TNA's show for the longest time was just called Impact. That was their weekly TV show. And it was TNA Impact. Even so, locally I can relate this. The Pittsburgh Steelers play football. They used to play football at a place called Heinz Field. And the field stayed the same, and the naming rights got changed last year to Acrisure Stadium. Acrisure is a company here in Pittsburgh. Couldn't even tell you what they do. People were pissed. This is something we know. This is a name brand we love. Why change it? What are we doing? It's always going to be Heinz Field to me. Not to me. I call it whatever it is. I try to be more progressive in that realm of all right, this is the name change. I can't fight why it happened. Who cares? This is what it is. It's not changing. So just deal with it. Move forward. Quit being, bothered by nothing that you really arguably can't change. You arguably can't argue for it. So let's relate it now to Impact. Impact, and this is probably, 2016, 2017, or maybe even a little earlier than that, honestly, 2013. And even so, fans would still chant TNA, TNA, TNA. It's an acronym. Wrestling is all about acronyms. WWF, WCW, ECW, WWE, NWA, AEW, TNA. TNA always was interesting to me because it was a wrestling company with a 3-letter acronym that didn't have a W in it. It was always TNA, Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action. And, of course, those that choose to obsess that TNA, is a sexual innuendo, and that's fine, right? That's funny. Who cares? I laughed at that in 2006, right? Get over it. It's a lame joke, and whatever, haha. But TNA, I loved the name. It was always interesting to me. So I really love the announcement that happened at the end of Bound for Glory. The show ends, it goes off the air, and a 4 to 5 minute promo package comes up featuring, Josh Alexander, a new guy, but, a Machine Gun, some old guys, and Eddie Edwards, and Alex Shelley, and Kazarian, some of these old guys, some of the new guys, and girls, and certain characters, Eric Young. And they all eventually come to the end of this promo announcing that starting in 2024, with the pay-per-view Hard to Kill, it will turn back into total non-stop action wrestling. It will revert back to the revived moniker of TNA Wrestling at Hard to Kill, which is January 13th, 2024. Impact was rebranded in 2017, so it'll be about 7 years since it was changed. But now it's going to be TNA again. I am so happy about this for a couple reasons, and I'll try to make it short because I want to do this Halloween Havoc thing. TNA, like I said, it was an acronym that didn't have W in it. That's fascinating. It's different. It works, And now Impact's been doing great the last 5 or 6 years, and look what happens. It's just Impact. But now it can run forth with the TNA moniker, and TNA can be this new full-fledged company with the old quote-unquote name, but the enthusiasm and the guys, the girls, the talent, the great stuff that is currently an Impact. So I love that it's a new, this new outlook for TNA. These are some of my thoughts. I put them out there on the tweet machine, on the X, if you will. I said, I can't believe this is really happening. TNA Wrestling was the first pro wrestling company that I really backed. The outside of WWE, once WCW was bought back in 2001. I said TNA from 2005 to 2009 was a run that I will never forget, and it put TNA on the map. And yeah, Impact did. It did very well for itself as a name. It did a lot better than I gave it credit for, because once it switched to Impact, I was like, all right, it's done. It's not even a number 2. It's not even a number 3 with AEW, but I would say it's gotten up there now. And I would definitely say once 2024 hits and it's back to TNA, I would say it's a definitive number 3. Or if anything, it's a definitive 2. I would say 1A and 1B would be WWE and AEW, because AEW has a nice TV deal. So if TNA gets a TV deal, maybe that would even elevate it, But I'm here to cross the line. I'm here for TNA, baby. Someone, Raj Giri, so like him or hate him, he said, what's going to be the difference? And I said, does there have to be a difference besides the name change? Everybody knows that Impact was formerly TNA, and it's an easy switch back that's honestly honoring the company's incredibly loyal fan base. The company has been steadily improving for years, and now TNA can just forge ahead with the same talent and momentum they've been building as Impact, but it can be TNA, And I like that vision. I see that vision. And I'm looking forward to seeing TNA succeed in 2024. So that was amazing. It was so, again, out of left field. It was unbelievable how it just came out of nowhere. And apparently this was not a quick, decision. This had been thought of for quite a long time. And I really, really am excited for this new TNA. I really am. So a lot of interesting stuff there. TNA is back, or it will be back here in 2024. But let's do it. Let's do the Halloween Havoc retrospective. I'm going to go from last. We're going to rank all the Halloween Havocs from worst to best. And then I'm going to give you my top 5 Halloween Havoc matches. So let's do it. So Halloween Havoc, again, a tentpole event. Always thought it was one of the better events. I love the theme, right? Halloween is like my favorite time of year. It's my favorite time of year. Love the movies. Love horror movies. Love going to haunted houses. Love trick-or-treating, candy, just all of it. The eerie vibes, fall being in the air, football coming back. And Halloween Havoc was always great. I always loved the set, the big pumpkin, the Slim Jim turnbuckle posts covers that made the posts look like Slim Jims, kind of like a costume for the posts. And earlier Halloween Havocs, they had Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. They had everybody dressing up as certain people, like Tony Schiavone dressing as Jesse Ventura, and Eric Bischoff as a Confederate soldier, and some things we might not want to talk about, but I love Halloween Havoc, and it ran from 1989 to 2000, of course, until the revival of the Halloween Havoc brand back in, I believe, 2020, which is now a TV special for NXT. They had 2020 NXT Halloween Havoc. First 3 years were all just one night, and now they're doing 2 nights, which a lot of women on the first show, and the second one's going to feature Ilya Dragunov defending against Carmelo Hayes in their third match of that trilogy, so that'll be a fun match as well. But here's my list. So the worst, I would say, Halloween Havoc is 2000. Now, I'm going to rank these, but I'm going to tell you good stuff that I remember from the shows, so be that as it may. We had Halloween Havoc 2000. This is my worst of all of them. It's the last one under the WCW banner. We had Goldberg defeating Chronic in a handicap match, which it was interesting. It was only like a 3-minute match, though. Jeff Jarrett and Sting had a match where Jeff Jarrett had multiple Stings of different eras, Surfer Stings, different versions of Surfer Sting come out and try to intimidate Sting. Loved it, and Jeff Jarrett got the win. We also had a great match between Mike Awesome and Vampiro. So outside of that, not too much else that's great, because there was the David Flair, Buff Bagwell, First Blood DNA match to figure out the DNA of the, I think it was to find the father of, is it Stacy Keibler's kid or Tori Wilson's kid? I honestly, let's see. I don't know. I'm even looking. It doesn't even show. It's just a DNA match. I don't know what the hell's going on. That's how terrible it was. 92 is next. And it had the Coal Miner's Glove match, which also sucked. Jake Roberts and Sting. And it also had arguably the worst NWA title match of all time, Rick Rude and Masahiro Chono. I rank it ahead of 2000 because it didn't have a First Blood DNA match that I still, to this day, don't understand what was happening in that match. Next, I would say 1991, the Chamber of Horrors, which is a famously horrible match featuring the top stars. I say top stars of WCW, yet it was the opening match. It was Sting, Elegante, the Steiners versus Abdul the Butcher, the Diamond Stud, who is Scott Hall, Cactus Jack, and Big Van Vader in the first match of this monstrosity of a huge cage. Botches galore. It was terrible. However, the night was revived, because there was a match between the Z-Man, Tom Zink, and the Halloween Phantom, who was a masked man who defeated Tom Zink in about 1:30 and was revealed to be, he's simply ravishing, Rick Rude. Rick Rude came out and debuted here in 91 at Halloween Havoc, then became part of the Dangerous Alliance, won the world title after that, and was really doing a lot of good stuff until his back injury in 94 cost him his wrestling career. But the debut here for WCW began at Halloween Havoc 91, thus why I put it higher on the list. 99, we got a garbage Hogan and Sting match, which was a quote-unquote worked shoot. Awful. Absolutely awful. Flair and DDP had a great strap match with the promos that were beforehand were ludicrous. Watch that match just for the promos leading up to it. And then a brutal Sid Vicious Goldberg match where a ton of blood is lost from Sid Vicious. Loved it. Now we're getting into some not as bad but not as good 95, this is monster truck. We got, Hulk Hogan and the Giant in the sumo monster truck on Cobo Hall. God. Hogan kind of helps the Giant fall off the building, and yet the Giant comes back out for the world title match and defeats Hulk Hogan for the title. We didn't know that at the time because it was a DQ, yet the title could change hands on DQ, and then it was held up for the World War III pay-per-view later that month in November, the next month in November, which was obviously the whole reason for the Dusty finish. And, of course, we got to see the Yeti involved in that show. One of my favorite highlights, of course, we talked about Sting and Ric Flair. This was Sting and Flair versus Pillman and Arn Anderson. And Sting was all by himself until Flair came out to help him. He's going to be in the match. He was beat up backstage. He was in just his khakis. He gets the tag. And he turns right on Sting and the Four Horsemen right again. So, I love that. But outside of that, not a great show. 98. This is an interesting show. It should have been amazing. But the feed of the show, the feed of the pay-per-view cut out right as DDP and Goldberg locked up because it was a 3.5 hour run instead of a 3 hour run that they did not tell the pay-per-view companies about. Shout out WCW. And we don't get to see, at least the main pay-per-view audience doesn't get to see probably Goldberg's greatest match, which is against DDP for the world title. Arguably, DDP should have won that match and won the world title for the first time. It was not to be, and he ended up winning at Spring Stampede 99. But that match was great. They showed it back in its entirety the following night on Nitro, which is why that night won in the ratings. And I also believe, so that was 25 years ago yesterday, Halloween Havoc, as I'm recording this on the 26th. And today, as I'm recording this, is the 25th anniversary of the next night, which is that Nitro. They air the DDP Goldberg match in its entirety, and in the ratings from that, Nitro blew Raw out of the water. And it was the very last time WCW defeated WWE in the Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro ratings war. So yeah, 98. It also had a Hall and Nash match. It was fun to watch, but they really capitalized on the drinking issues of Scott Hall during this time. And now that Scott's not with us, and looking back on it, it just wasn't the best move, but it is what it is. And then, honestly, there's a 5-minute Wrath versus Ming match, which I really enjoyed. So, put that in there. 1989, the first Halloween Havoc. I mean, look, we talked Sting and Flair being partners, and then Flair turned on him in 95. How about an 89, where they stuck together? Ric Flair and Sting defeated Terry Funk and the Great Muta in the Thunderdome match with Bruno Sammartino as special guest referee. We had Gary Hart and Ole Anderson in there as the enforcers for each team. Love that match. I remember they got to use the Hell's Bells from AC/DC as a licensed song for this show. I love that. You got the Skyscrapers and Road Warriors in a brutal match. And then, of course, Lex Luger, Brian Pillman, arguably one of Lex Luger's best matches of all time for the NWA US title happened at that show as well. Let's go top 5. 93 is my 5th favorite. Vader, Cactus Jack, Texas Death Match. Not too much else to say about that. This is one of the best matches of Cactus Jack's career, of Vader's career. One of the most violent matches you'll ever see in WCW, especially in 93. Kind of unprecedented to do such a match. We had Rick Rude and Flair for the world title. Their Fall Brawl match was better. And then Sting and Sid Vicious had an interesting match for the franchise, the title of franchise of WCW. Also, you get Missy Hyatt and the Nasty Boys. Great trio right there. 1990. Sting, Sid Vicious again. But this is the first time they wrestled, yet somehow they swapped Sting for Barry Windham dressed as Sting because it's Halloween, as they kind of were backstage and had Sid pin him. thought it was all over, thought Sid was a champion, and of course, that was not to be. Give me a sec. Yeah, so they kind of did a swap, not, I guess, twin magic, but you really didn't see that it was Barry Windham until way after the fact. But then they restarted the match, and Sting actually won the match, so whatever. But the best match on this show, and we'll get to that in a little bit with my top 5 matches, Steiner Brothers, Nasty Boys. What a brawl that was. 94. This is an interesting one. I know a lot of people probably won't view this as a highly rated or ranked show, but I kind of dug it. We had Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck against the Nasty Boys in a tag match. Dustin Rhodes and Arn Anderson in a match, which was a fun little match. Stars and Stripes versus Pretty Wonderful for the tag titles. A Haas fight between the Guardian Angel, who's Big Boss Man, and Vader. And then, of course, Steel Cage, career versus career for the WCW World Heavyweight title. Hulk Hogan defends against Ric Flair. Mr. T is referee. This is a fun match. One of my favorite. I'm so glad that, we never got Flair Hogan at WrestleMania. Didn't get it at WrestleMania 8. We had it at Bash of the Beach 94. And then we got it in a cage in 94 as well at Halloween Havoc. And of course, the biggest part of this, Hulk Hogan wins, and someone tries to attack him. It's a masked man. It was the masked man that's been attacking him for weeks, even before Fall Brawl. Who was it? Who was the masked man? Hulk Hogan revealed that it was none other than the Butcher, Brutus Beefcake. Yes, he was called the Butcher. Not so casually either, because I do believe and recall Bobby Heenan kind of forcing, that man has butchered a friendship. He has butchered a friendship. Kind of forcing the name The Butcher in there, but it turned out hokey, and The Butcher and Hulk Hogan, that's right, Brutus Beefcake, main evented Starrcade with Hulk Hogan at 94. So that wasn't on here. This is just the reveal. I thought the reveal was kind of well done, because you never would have thought that. It's just kind of lame. So the shock was there, but you're like, oh, well, I mean, it was shocking. But I don't know if anybody wanted to see Hogan and Butcher in a match, so. 94. And then 96 is my number 2 favorite WCW Halloween Havoc. We had the Outsiders defeating Harlem Heat to win the tag titles for the first time. We had Arn Anderson in his final singles match on pay-per-view against Lex Luger. We had a fun match with the Giant and Jeff Jarrett, but DDP and Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio Jr. Honestly, 2 of the best matches of '96, and Ray had quite a few. Ray and Dean had quite a few separate matches with each other and separate matches with other guys in '96 that really would have put those guys on the map back then. Of course, Malenko won the PWI 500 number 1 spot in 97 for his contributions from 96 to 97. And then, of course, Hogan and Savage for the world title in the main event. But why was this important? Because after the match, Roddy Piper comes out to confront Hogan and make his WCW debut. And dare I say, after they had their match at Starrcade and Super Brawl, they had a match, and some stuff at Great American Bash, leads us to our number 1, my personal greatest Halloween Havoc of all time overall. Maybe not for the main event, because the main event was dubbed Age in the Cage by WWF personnel. Roddy Piper defeated Hulk Hogan by technical submission in the steel cage. However, we got to see Randy Savage and DDP in a Las Vegas sudden death match, which was fantastic. Got to see an intergender match between Jacqueline and Disco Inferno, which was fun. And then arguably the greatest match in the history. In the history of WCW. Rey Mysterio Jr., Eddie Guerrero, title versus mask for the WCW Cruiserweight title. I've seen this match probably 100 times. I show it to people that have never watched wrestling, and I'm like, look, if, whatever your thoughts are, wrestling is fake, it's real, it's this, it's that, it's entertainment, it's whatever, this will guarantee, for someone that might not watch wrestling or not even know, it's almost assured that afterwards they'll say, that was something. That was damn fine. Athleticism, entertainment, and I just can't put that match over anymore. As a matter of fact, let's just get right into it. This is the top 5 matches, in my personal, humble, loyalist, historical, connoisseur WCW opinion. I have Havoc 94, Flair Hogan in the cage, career versus career. Flair lost. Of course, he came back in March of 95. Havoc 98, DDP Goldberg. Of course, I would love to have seen the match live as it happened, of course, on pay-per-view. We couldn't see it. Number 3, Nasty Boys and Steiners, Havoc 90. What a brawl this was. Go out of your way to see it. All 5 of these matches, I would say, go out and see it. Cactus Jack and Vader in the Texas Death Match. You won't see a more brutal WCW match at, for sure, 93. Probably for the rest of the go. And then Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Mask versus Title, Havoc 97. A match that, again, I would say is the greatest match in WCW history. That's a whole nother topic, is what the top maybe 5 WCW matches are overall. But, man, overall, Eddie and Rey probably had, I'd say it's a top, for the domestic United States, I would say it's a top 10 match of all time. I could easily say that Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero is a top 10 match of all time. So if you haven't seen it, please be my guest. Spend some Halloween cold nights watching some Halloween Havocs. I would watch Havoc 97 for Eddie and Rey. So quickly, let's go over the list one more time. From worst to best: 2000, 92, 91, 99, 95, 98, 89, 93, 90, 94, 96, and 97. And my top 5 favorite matches from 5 to 1: Flair versus Hogan at Havoc 94, DDP versus Goldberg at Havoc 98, the Nasty Boys and the Steiner Brothers at Havoc 90, Cactus Jack versus Vader at Havoc 93, and Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Havoc 97. Whew! Halloween Havoc is one of my favorite shows. I'm very happy that I could kind of go over all that in my WCW knowledge with you guys. Well, some of that was researched, but I mean, I knew a lot of that from the top of my head here because it was my favorite company. And like I said earlier, I stopped really kind of watching wrestling and only started backing. I know, I watched WWE, of course, WrestleMania 21, well documented on the Juice Box here. It was my first show getting back into wrestling, but then I started watching TNA, and TNA would be on Fox Sports Net after middle school, and I loved every minute of it, and now we're getting TNA in 2024, so fun episode today, I thought. We didn't get to some of the other Ask Juices. Potentially we can do that at another time. We'll save that for another episode, but I mean, next week should be the Crown Jewel Predictions show. The following week will be kind of a review and a potential preview of the One Dead Man show that I will be attending. And the following week will be Full Gear predictions. So, and I do, you know what? And then the following week will be Survivor Series predictions. So we got a hell of a November coming up here on the Juice Box. So stay tuned here. As always, Juicy Steen on X/Twitter. Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram if you'd like to check out my wrestling t-shirts and chat wrestling with me there. JuicySteen.podbean.com if you want to check out this podcast. Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe to the show there. Also find the show on Google Podcasts. And if you just have 2 minutes, hell, did somebody say 3 minutes? Go to iTunes, give this show 5 stars. You listen to it, maybe you listen to 5 minutes, maybe you listen to the whole damn thing. More power to you. But it'd be more power to this show if you guys could just give it a 5-star rating. That would be great. And if you can give it a little review, tell me what you like, what you don't like. It'd be great if you just gave me an honest review and then threw the 5 stars in there, because even if it's a bad review but I get 5 stars, the 5 stars stays and I can improve to make sure your review is better next time. So as always, appreciate you guys listening to the Juice Box, and I'm Juice Springsteen. Like I said, hopefully Eisenberg next week for the Crown Jewel predictions, but I'm Juice Springsteen, and you've been listening to The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.